administration called for an invasion of Cuba through provocation, like things like having Cubans killed in the air. Domestic airliner blew up and going down over Guantanamo Bay, yelling, "We're under fire, we're under fire," and people would die. You know, everything would be blamed on Cuba. Everything would be blamed on Cuba. And people operate sabotage operations in the United States and blamed on Cuba.
It was all done to get people enthusiastic about the war with Cuba.
This is very important. This is crucial to understand. This is very crucial because I do believe that was the motivation for the assassination. The Cuba thing was really the thing that set them off. Forget about Berlin. Forget about the détente with Russia. Forget about the nuclear peace treaty, nuclear atmospheric treaty that Kennedy signed with Khrushchev. That was a big treaty. Forget all these things. Forget Vietnam. Twice he failed in Cuba. This created a tremendous wave of expectation from Cubans who hated him. So this is where the CIA and Cuba kind of intersect. They use the Cubans very well because there's a handler in Florida called George Joannini who gets involved with them. Very interesting character. We'll come back to him before. Cubans are used everywhere on the map. In Texas, Florida, New Orleans. Oswald is soaked in them. He comes back in the United States. It's a crazy story. He's soaked soaked in them. He becomes a member of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which is, by the way, started by the CIA. It's not really a legitimate organization. He becomes a member of that. And the CIA started both sides. He started the student movement against Castro. They started the Fair Play for Cuba. Both sides of the equation. That's typical of what they do. Can I go back 1 second? Because this is a complex situation, and people have a field day with going after JFK here, because JFK had nothing to do with the assassination planning on Castro. How do we know this? There's an Inspector General report. Inspector General of the CIA did a report back in 66, 67 for Helms was asked. Richard Helms was the head of the CIA. LBJ. There had been this whole scandal thing. Jack Anderson was a very famous columnist. He raised these issues and said that the CIA was involved with Cuban groups to assassinate Castro using mob figures. Okay, and this whole thing started to stir up in the 60s. After Kennedy had been killed, we started to hear about it. Of course, the Warren Commission wouldn't allow anything like that to come out because Alan Dulles was on the commission. They never heard any word about any of this stuff. It started to come out. Johnson, who was president that night, wanted to have a full report. He made Helms, Richard Helms, give it to him. Helms is a character that is slimy. It goes way back. That's another story. We need to be Sherlock Holmes here. LBJ says, write me the fucking report. The guy writes, the IG guy, who's supposed to be honest, Inspector General, writes a report, and it's the whole story, the whole bananas, everything. And he says in the report, there is no evidence of any president, that means Eisenhower or Kennedy, approving of any assassination attempt against Castro. Crucial to understand that. So, and that's Robert Kennedy included, because there's no evidence that we have found, all the research community, that says that Robert Kennedy knew anything, although the CIA, after the assassination, they did the best effort to prevent his assassination. This guy is Seymour Hersh, and the Halpern, who was the number one assistant to Helms. Halpern was his main source, and put out all these stories about Camelot really being planning the murder of Castro. That's why you hear this over and over again. Noam Chomsky, of all people, picked up on it and keeps repeating it. This is just not true. We can't find evidence of it, and the IG report points to it. Helms didn't want to give the report. He gave one copy he gave to LBJ. That's it. LBJ read it. It disappears into the files. And the Assassination Records Review Board gets the IG report finally open. What is it, 2020 now, 21? Well, you realize that report And the historians keep actually it was available in the 1990s. I mean, I don't know if the historians have a responsibility to read these papers. They didn't. And some of these historians keep making the mistake of saying Kennedy was behind getting rid of Castro. Kennedy was in a tough position on Cuba. Yes, he had to move against Cuba. At the same time, he wanted to save his Alliance for Progress. Alliance for Progress was a huge social experiment he started in Latin America, very important. $10 million. And he didn't want to do military. He didn't want the military governments of South America to be putting the money into military stuff. So he put it into education, agriculture, everything he could. He made this tremendous effort. And it's a wonderful story. Of course, Johnson closed it down and put the money back into the military regimes. Brazil followed the coup, and Brazil followed it. Where was I? I'm just trying to say, on Cuba, Kennedy had to give the notion that he was doing something the whole time in the easy trade. So he started Operation Mongoose. Now, Mongoose is very disputed. Mongoose was run by Edward Lansdale, an operative who was in and out of the Philippines. His whole story with Lansdale. But CIA never believed Operation Mongoose would work. They thought it was PR. Meanwhile, the CIA is doing its own thing with gangsters. People like Johnny Roselli, people like William Harvey.
Can you explain Operation Mongoose?
Mongoose was another operation to subvert the Cuban regime, to blow up things, but not kill Castro, to blow up things, to destabilize the regime, like Northwoods. All these plans are coming in from different departments to derail the Cuban Revolution. Why? The Cuban Revolution is very influential all through Latin America. That's why Kennedy wanted his Alliance for Progress. So he made his thinking was that if I can get Castro to back off any kind, don't fuck with my Alliance for Progress. We'll let you be. We're not going to come after you. You can have your regime, but we're going to prove to you that the Alliance for Progress can work.
Do you think that Kennedy knew how the structure of all the intelligence agencies and the deception and these using agent provocateurs and establishing these false flag events? Do you think he was aware of this before he got into office? Or this is probably very shocking.
He was shocked by the Bay of Pigs. Shocked. His brother, he said this. He said they lied. They lied to me, and he thought he was in charge of the government.
Because the narrative I always heard about the Bay of Pigs is that he fucked them by not bringing in air support.
That's the right-wing narrative.
Yes, that's all you ever hear. Yeah.
Yes, in those terms, yes. He failed. The men got stranded on the beach, and he failed to send in air cover. Yes, because he said so. He wouldn't do that. And if they had done it, they would have looked like America's being the bully all over again. They're bombing the Cuba, which was what was expected of America. And he didn't do it. He was announcing a new kind of America. Crucial to understand. And I think the Bay of Pigs is a fine moment for Kennedy. And he had to take the fall for it. But he was furious behind the scenes at Dulles and his group. The more he found out about it.
And this is right after he's got into office as well.
April.
Yeah. So he's
waking up.
Yeah.
He's waking up through 61. That was a rough year.
Do you think that he was aware that it was the CIA that was trying to assassinate him, or was it unspecified forces?
Unspecified. He knew. I don't think. First of all, he fired Dulles. That was a huge bonanza. I think that was a great move. He fired Dulles. Richard Bissell, who was a schemer, a planner, and Cabell. He fired them. But he didn't clean house. Richard Helms steps in as the major domo there. McCone, he appoints John McCone, who's an establishment guy, to run the CIA. His first choice is too liberal, and they destroy that possibility. Henley Stevenson liked the guy. So McCone goes in. Helms really runs the show. McCone is a figurehead. He's sent overseas to visit the stations. Helms is the guy who runs this.
Now, what's fascinating...
And by the way, he's the guy we need files on. A lot of files. He's another one of these operatives who knows a lot, who's never really pushed. He was questioned finally by the church committee.
Now, these documents that were recently resealed, they were supposed to be released, and then the Biden administration decided to keep them under wraps till when? It's some very long distance in the future now, right?
Which ones? No, I think they're finally coming around, but they have to clean the files. I think they were surprised by the amount of work we got, the amount of information we got out of the files. Not we, I mean the whole community of researchers.
Yes.
These people are experts. They know the technical language. They go into these files like ants.
Yeah. No, the community of people that are obsessed with JFK assassination is pretty thorough.
Yeah, amazing. There are a lot of nutcases still out there, but those serious people are really good. And they're the ones that kept this case alive.
Well, it's a thing that a conspiracy theorist really looks to.
I don't use that word. I think truth seekers much.
Okay, well, forget about that word. But someone who's interested in uncovering the truth about this assassination, the type of person that has that mindset that's interested in uncovering the truth about any historical event, this is one of the best ones.
That's
because there's
what a historian does.
Yes, there's significant evidence, and there's significant evidence that there is a conspiracy. Significance. I mean,
I would say from the beginning there was, yes, when you have a shot from the rear, a shot from the
yes, well, I was going to get into that. So when you detail so brilliantly in this documentary all of the people that were involved in manipulating evidence, whether it's autopsy photos, whether it's the evidence about the actual shots, where they were fired from, the impact, like where the exit wounds was, all these various people that were involved. How many people knew what had actually happened? Because it seems like there was a concentration of people that was not small. And one of the things that people who like to use the pejorative term conspiracy theorists, they always want to point to people can't keep a secret. Well, the fuck they can't. They had to.
It's a giant maze. It's so confusing.
Yes.
That no one would be believed if they
right.
They're one part. Think of it as departments of this. Departments of this. Somebody pops up and says, "I know this." So he disappears in the maze. It's another piece of information.
Yeah.
There's been no attempt by the government to follow up on this at all. They dismissed. They had the HSCA in 1978, right? That came about because of pressure. And a lot of that was classified still and disappeared for a while. We got it out. All that stuff. They decided that there was a probable conspiracy based on the acoustic evidence of the motorcycles. But we don't want to go into that because that's a whole other story.
Acoustic evidence? Sound
from the rear recording in the front.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
the shots.
The physical evidence of the impact on the body is way more important and way more obvious. That first of all, the establishment of the magic bullet was one of the most preposterous things that the United States public has ever accepted.
And I think we did a great service by driving a stake through that heart of that vampire because it's been around forever.
Well, you detailed in so many different ways, too. You detailed all the various ways that they had tried to establish it. Once they found the wound in the back, they tried to establish...
Well, don't confuse it. First of all, the magic bullet, there's no chain of custody on it. The FBI lied and proved it in the film.
Yes, you did.
Because the times don't match when it was given. So the FBI down and out lied. Now, Hoover, of course, never believed. One had to believe. One.
He needs to confess. But right now, I can't even talk about the case. But that guy needs to know you're in jail for him, and it drives me crazy. She says, "Tell him to make a video and confess. I have a family." What a monster! I go back to learning about getting milk from male goats.
Billy goat milk. The prosecutors in this case are asking that she have all of her phone, well, most of her phone privileges taken away. The only people that she'd be able to call would be her attorneys, that they want to put her under a special order where her mail gets read because of her desire to change things.
A male goat, their milk comes from one udder, so it's more concentrated and it's more nutritious.
I don't know if the internet is playing a prank on you.
No, I know what you're thinking, and that's disgusting and not in line with the research I'm conducting. It's simply about the udders, not the other parts of the goat.
Carrie and Shannon will continue.
Yes, sir.
Amy Kane live in the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
A woman from West Hills has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for stealing almost $4 million in a forged will scheme. Prosecutors say the woman forged power of attorney documents involving people who had died. She also dismembered and disposed of the body of one of her victims in the San Francisco Bay. Former President Trump is suing ABC News and George Stephanopoulos for defamation. The lawsuit centers around Stephanopoulos' interview with Congresswoman Nancy Mace earlier this month. During the interview, Stephanopoulos said Trump had been found liable for rape. A New York jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse, but not rape. $875 million is on the line in the Mega Millions drawing tonight. If you don't hit that one tonight, $687 million is in the jackpot for tomorrow night's Powerball draw. We'll check some problems on the 405 next.
Well, getting hurt in an accident could change your life. We want to make sure that you feel empowered in a situation like that, and that's why we have told you over and over again to contact Sweet James.
Well, one of our listeners got hurt in a motorcycle accident. He was shocked by the lowball offer he got from the insurance company, so he called Sweet James.
The attorneys at Sweet James helped him get the medical care he needed so that he could recover as quickly as possible, get on that bike again.
Then they fought tirelessly to deliver a $400,000 win.
Listen, if you're ever hurt in an accident, you need a team of local attorneys who have the care, the skill, and the resources to win the most for you.
Compensation is a huge part of that, but it's also about compassion, care, and justice. Sweet James brings over 500 trials of experience to every case, big or small, and that is why they win 98% of the time, and they win big.
So call Sweet James, 800-9-million. Listen, they're not going to be able to guarantee the outcome, but they can make sure that you have them by your side.
800-9-million, 800-9-million. That's 800-9-000-000, or go to sweetjames.com.
Lots of sun, a few clouds this afternoon, highs in the upper 60s to mid 70s with a chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, let's go places. We've got a stall in Inglewood on the 405.
Northbound at Montana, that stall blocks the second lane from the left. Traffic is jammed from Imperial Highway. Long Beach, the 405 northbound after Cherry Avenue, a multi-car crash off the shoulder that has you slow from the 605. In Encino, now on the 101 southbound at Balboa, crash blocks the two right lanes. You're stopped from Tampa Avenue and headed through River Street, the 60 westbound before the 605, a crash on the right shoulder. You're on the brakes from Hacienda Boulevard. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Dave Joseph.
You'll never know the feeling until you experience it here yourself at Disneyland Resort. Because here, every and is beyond anything you've ever felt before. It's where becomes on Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. It's every amazing feeling ever, all at once. It's that feeling when you're at Disneyland Resort, and there's no better time than now.
College hoops fans, it's tournament time. The thrill and excitement of March Mania is here, and you can get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. New customers bet on any college basketball national tournament game and turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's right. To celebrate college basketball's most frenzied time of the year, DraftKings is giving new customers a shot to rack up some bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code iHeart. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only with DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code iHeart. That's promo code iHeart. The crown is yours. Must be 21 or older. Indiana only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/bball. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
This is a radio ad for Dupixent. Dupilumab, a prescription medicine for people 6 months and up with moderate to severe eczema that is not well controlled with topical prescription therapies. But since this is radio, you can't see the effects of Dupixent. You can't see how it helps you stay ahead of your eczema, or how it helps block a key source of inflammation inside the body that could be causing eczema. You can't see how it helps heal your skin from within, but you can see how Dupixent can help you have clearer skin and less itch. Individual results may vary. Serious allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Get help right away if you have wheezing, trouble breathing, or swelling of your face, lips, mouth, tongue, throat. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems, such as eye pain, vision changes, or blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines without talking to your doctor. See for yourself. Ask your eczema specialist about Dupixent. Visit Dupixent.com or call 1-844-DUPIXENT.
My brother-in-law died suddenly. Now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. After that, I told my wife we couldn't put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com.
This is the mentality, and you get it from the news media, and people at home absorb the language construction. Well, he's experiencing homelessness. No, he's a perverted sex criminal. John Cobell's experiencing homelessness, like you're experiencing rash.
Live 1 to 4 p.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app.
Gary and Shannon. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Some stories we're following for you today. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says Russia's presidential election can only be described as undemocratic. He pointed to the Russian government barring two candidates from the ballot who are against the country's invasion of Ukraine. No shocker there.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has found the U.S. will continue to support Ukraine's war effort against Russia, even if Congress is still stalled over the funding for additional weapons. Lloyd Austin and other defense leaders meeting in Germany to discuss aid for Ukraine. This meeting comes a week after defense officials found and used $300 million in some contract savings to fund a new package of military aid for Ukraine.
The long national nightmare is over. Baseball is back. And the opening act is an NL West showdown in Seoul, South Korea. MLB's first regular season games in South Korea. Game 1 of the Seoul series will be tomorrow. If you want to wake up, set your alarm for 3 a.m. because it's going to start at 3:05, first pitch our time. This is going to be Shohei Ohtani's Dodgers debut. Of course, he's not going to pitch, but he will serve as DH.
I'm just going to keep playing it and just screw it up over and over again. Until maybe
What's going on here? Anyway, the big news overnight was from the exhibition game there in South Korea, where a South Korean actress appeared to throw out the first pitch.
John Jung-so,
Beautiful girl.
you've seen her in such films as Ballerina and in the current TV series Wedding Impossible. And she threw a pitch. Like, that's what they do when they throw a first pitch. She's on the mound. You know, usually some of these people who are afraid they're not going to be able to make it 60 feet, 6 inches, stand in front of the mound. But she did the whole thing.
It almost looks like anime, doesn't it, her body? I mean, it's perfect. Everything is perfect on her.
She's very slight.
Very slight, tiny waist, big butt, big boobs, crop top. She's wearing a Dodgers crop top with like stretchy pants, and then the baseball socks up to her knees.
Yeah.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Really Vin would have said about John So.
He would have said something like, "She's a lovely looking lady.
Yes.
Look at that lovely looking girl."
The video of the dugout, though,
Showed
admiring her.
a bunch of dudes being a bunch of dudes. They looked sophomore, juvenile, yes. But that's what dudes do.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm
think
surprised.
what should not have happened is the camera guy should not have kept going back. It's like, we get it. She's a hottie.
And now, it's not like they were sitting on the top step of the dugout and going, check out the knocker.
But they kind of were.
Cam on that gal.
Yeah.
But That's what it definitely looks like.
Right. It looked like boys looking at a pretty female.
So again, the game starts 3:05 early tomorrow morning. They're going to replay it in a couple of different places. I believe you'll be able to hear it live on our station down the hall at AM 570 LA Sports later in the day also. In fact, we have a party to go to tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry. It's during our show.
That's when all the parties are scheduled.
All of the fun parties are.
Is Tim Cates going to be in here at 3 in the morning?
I assume so.
Text him and ask.
Get him a question. Tyler Glasnow is going to start game 1. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to start game 2. And again, they're just playing these 2 games early tomorrow morning, early Thursday morning in South Korea before the Padres and Dodgers come back to the States. Well, to the States, I guess. And they will then begin the regular season like or continue their regular season on the same day that everybody else begins their regular season, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So I don't know how the players feel about these types of trips. We've done it in Japan before. They've done it in Mexico City.
As long as you've got girls like that throwing out the first pitch, I think they're fine with it.
Dodgers went to Australia. They played on that cricket pitch one time.
It's just odd that these games would count. It's one thing to just develop goodwill and international reach and all of that, but the fact that they count when you're pretty discombobulated, I don't think.
And they're going to sell out the games. I mean, the exhibition games that the teams played in Korea were sold out.
Yeah.
So, of course, they would sell out the games because these are especially the Dodgers. I mean, just an absolute stacked lineup that is internationally known because of this. So, excited.
Are you excited? Will you wake up at 3? You might.
I could. I doubt I would, but
I just don't want you coming in here all drunk tomorrow.
I think tomorrow the wife has to get up early, so I could set the alarm and catch part of the game, probably.
Yeah, maybe not the first pitch.
No, that seems a little aggressive. Especially these aren't my teams.
Yeah, but
right?
you've been waiting for baseball. You've been waiting for it to come back. You haven't even been wearing your outfits.
No.
What's going on with that? Usually the outfits have surfaced by now.
Well, I thought about doing it just starting on opening day and making my way through the season to see how deep I could get wearing just a baseball shirt the entire time.
Yeah.
So I might do that.
Something to look forward to.
Lucky you. And the other thing is that the Giants signed Blake Snell. I mean, I don't think the ink is dry yet, but Blake Snell's going to be pitching for the Giants. A lot of people have said the Giants are an awful team. They have an awful front office right now. They're doing things awfully.
That's what they said about the Rams, but they showed up last season.
Yeah. So the other notable thing, which is not notable unless you're a West Coast baseball person, Rennell Brooks Moon, who was the PA voice of the Giants Stadium when it was back AT&T Outlook.
She was a morning radio show person. I used to listen to her every day.
She was officially announced as the public address announcer emeritus, which means they fired her.
Yeah. For who?
She's the only, I don't know. I couldn't look through the press release. I couldn't see the
Or
name.
did she willingly leave?
They had a dispute over money.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she was like, you know what? I had a good run, and I'll be fine.
You're available.
I can't do it from here.
No. But you could do this show from there.
And most of the games would be at night. There'd be no conflict. Fine. Okay. All right.
I mean, you have your marriage to work on.
Well, there might be that. It's the whole family thing.
But maybe she'd be willing to let you go for a seasonal opportunity.
The wife?
Yeah.
I'll run it by her. See what
She's busy.
Run her up the flagpole.
All right, coming up next, we will talk about all those burglaries in Orange County. Oh, and don't forget about Cedar the goat.
Are we going to have to play songs?
Is Cedar a male goat or a female goat?
We'll find out.
Because you can build both of them.
Right. Deborah Mark is live in the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
2 school board members in Orange County who pushed conservative policies appear to have been recalled.
All of the culture war issues are not what the recall was about.
Recall organizer Michelle Weisenberg says the board members were pushing solutions to politically exaggerated problems that don't exist.
Our main issue was the chaos of loss of staff, the bleeding of money.
Orange School Board member Rick Ledesma says the policies were about protecting parental rights and improving education.
We're going to talk about a child's program at 6 years old. Now, how are we going to raise these test scores that are so low?
New board members can be appointed once election results are final. In Orange, Corbin Carson, KFID.
The man in Long Beach who ran to help the March 10th and pulled over to help the woman.
I asked her if she was okay, and what had happened is she said that her belongings had been stolen by a gentleman running down the street.
The Good Samaritan got into a fight with the robber and was able to get the woman's cell phone back. He says he felt sick while driving home and called 911. Doctors at the hospital discovered he had been stabbed in the upper body. He suffered a punctured lung and had internal bleeding. Cops later found and arrested the alleged robber.
4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. And lift off. Falcon 9, go Starlink, go SpaceX.
Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket carrying 22 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit is launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base. The launch last night lit the sky over Southern California. It was the 10th launch for the Falcon 9 first stage booster, which has launched 7 other Starlink missions and 2 missions for the U.S. Space Development Agency. President Biden is headed to Nevada and Arizona to hold campaign events. ABC's Karen Travers says Biden's first stop is in Reno, where he will join volunteers and local leaders at a Democratic Party office.
Next, he travels to Las Vegas to deliver remarks on lowering costs for American families. He wraps up his day with a stop in South Phoenix, Arizona, visiting a Mexican restaurant.
She says that's where Biden will announce a national organizing program to mobilize Latino voters for his re-election campaign. A UN-backed report says northern Gaza could be hit by famine any time between now and May. The report yesterday said more than 70% of Gaza's 2.3 million people are facing catastrophic hunger.
The extent of Israel's continued restrictions on the entry of aid into Gaza, together with the manner in which it continues to conduct hostilities, may amount to the use of starvation as a method of war.
The UN's Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, says that's a war crime. Turk says Israel must allow aid to be distributed without impeding. We're going to the 101 next.
Oh my goodness, these deals are too good right now at Thorson Buick GMC there in Pasadena. As always, the KFI fan gets the best hookup. Listen to this. For March, you can get a 2024 GMC Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Edition, and get ready for this. You get a $3,500 Thorson discount, $2,750 of customer cash, $2,500 worth of Buick GMC loyalty cash, $1,250 March Madness cash, and a $10,000 net discount from MSRP. Give Ted a call over at the dealership. He will give you all the details, or head into the showroom. Thorson Buick GMC in Pasadena.
Southline weather from KFI, sunny. Highs low to mid 70s for Metro LA, Inland and the IE. Mid to upper 70s in the valleys. Highs in the mid 60s to around 70 in the high desert and at the beaches. We do have a slight chance of showers in the high desert. Right now, 65 in La Palma, 63 in Irvine. We have a crash on the 101 in Encino.
Southbound at Balboa Boulevard, that crash is taking up 2 right lanes. You're jammed from Tampa. Headed through Inglewood, the 405 at La Tierra stall blocks the second lane from the left. You're stopped from Imperial Highway. And in Long Beach, the 405 northbound from Cherry, a crash on the right shoulder has you slow from the 605. Paramount, 710 southbound at Rosecrans. A vehicle fire has that off-ramp shut down. You're stopped from Firestone Boulevard. And in Corona, the slow go on the 91 westbound between 15 and Green River. KFI, the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Dave Joseph, college hoops fans. It's tournament time. The thrill and excitement of March Mania is here. And you can get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. New customers bet on any college basketball national tournament game and turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's right. To celebrate college basketball's most frenzied time of the year, DraftKings is giving new customers a shot to rack up some bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code IHEART. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only with DraftKings Sportsbook. Promo code IHEART. That's promo code IHEART. The crown is yours. If you are older, Indiana only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/bball. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
So I'm the type of guy who likes to forget things. Keys are always missing. I'm not great with names, and my signature catchphrase is, I know it's around here somewhere. That's why I get my haircut at Great Clips. Their skilled, friendly stylists save my haircut details in clip notes. So every time I need a cut, I can get the look I want without having to remember a thing.
Oh, yeah. Download the app today.
Great place. It's going to be great. As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives you access to all. Every audience, live conversations, trusted influencers, and the insights and data you need to grow. iHeartMedia is your access company. Go to iHeartResults.com for more. iHeartRadio Did You Know? Presented by iHeartRadio. You know, what you're listening to right now. Did you know that iHeartRadio not only lets you listen to all your favorite AM/FM stations locally and nationwide for free, but iHeartRadio also has a team of people who are as passionate about music as you, working round the clock to hand curate playlists perfect for any mood or activity. We know the right soundtrack can help set the mood, change your mood, or enhance any activity. And that's why we have thousands of playlists tuned to fit any situation. The best part, you can listen to all your playlists for free. Tap the playlist tab in the iHeartRadio app and explore playlists to help you get in the zone while working out, for a show when it's time to wind down, playlists for a party, sleeping, cooking, gaming, or road tripping. Playlists curated with the best hits from every decade and playlists with the biggest hits from every genre. Tap the playlist tab and discover all the playlists available to you free from iHeartRadio. #1 for music, radio, and podcasting, all in one app.
iHeartRadio.
KFI. AM 640.
An iHeart radio station.
More stimulating talk.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. While senior citizens battle for the White House, younger leaders on the rise in the Senate. Quietly so. We'll talk about it at Swamp Watch, coming up after Denver's news at the top of the hour.
Well, the former White House advisor Peter Navarro has reported to a federal prison in Miami to begin a 4-month sentence for refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena related to January 6th attack. The Navarro said they can put me in prison, they can put you in prison. During a parking lot press conference today, just before he went into the facility, he said, no mistake about that. They're coming after Donald Trump with the same tactics, tools, and strategies that they used to put me over there today. Navarro's last-ditch bid to stay free while appealing his contempt of Congress conviction shot down by Chief Justice John Robertson, and in the chamber's opinion, a written explanation for his ruling on the case, in which he didn't refer to the full court. Roberts said he denied Navarro's application because the former Trump White House economic advisor forfeited any argument challenging the district court's conclusion that executive privilege was not invoked by Trump, citing an appeals court decision.
There have been a rash of burglaries in Irvine over the past month. Now the police there issuing a warning to homeowners.
Corbin Carson is joining us live now, the latest on this string of burglaries. Corbin, what's going on?
In Southern California, general just burglaries and the rise in crime in this area. Police in Irvine are just trying to get people to be on alert about these burglaries over the last month. I spoke with Irvine Police Sergeant Carrie Davies this morning, and she says the goal here is to just keep people prepared.
We had 34 burglaries in the last 35 days, and that's about one a day on average. And that includes burglaries that cover residential burglaries, that include the professional crews coming in from the backyard area. This covers garage burglaries. Of the 34, 7 of those were what we deemed professional burglars, meaning they're organized, they travel in groups of 2 or more, and they typically hit through the backyard, travel up to the second story window or slider, and gain access that way. They're typically looking for cash, jewelry, and items of value that they can put in a backpack and take off.
Yeah, so again, it's unclear, she says, how many of these burglaries can be attributed to those international burglary rings, but here's what she says they know about the majority of them now.
The descriptions that we've been given from some of the surveillance that we did has run the gamut.
It's not a culture or description. Typically, they're dressed in dark clothing, hoodies. They can have baseball caps on. They'll try to cover their face with masks. They're carrying backpacks. So if you see somebody walking up in the hillside or in the open area carrying a backpack and kind of scoping out your residence, that's probably a phone call that you should make to the Irvine Police Department so we can try to catch these people.
Yeah, so there you go. 34 burglaries, 35 days, about one a day is basically what they're saying.
Let's talk about this idea that, there's a lot of articles yesterday in different places regarding the international tourist burglars come into the country on their visas, then leave with either the money or the loot that they came through and ripped out of our homes. Any connections to that? Are they saying outright that you're looking at that as a possibility, or just kind of a rumor in the background?
It's a little bit of both. She did say there that about 20% or 7 of them were attributed to those professional type of burglary rings. She also indicated that, the FBI stats show that Irvine is the safest when it comes to violent crime, but there's still some crime. And if these are people that are coming in to the city to do these type of crimes, that the best thing that people can do is be safe. She offered a bunch of tips about how people can prepare themselves to protect their home and property.
The descriptions that we've been given.
Let's talk about the descriptions. Here's the tips.
We recommend that people get to know their neighbors and their habits and exchange information so you can look out for each other. If you have a camera system, we recommend that you have the ability to access it fairly quickly. If it's motion detected, then you need to be able to check that immediately and not wait. Some of the things that we're finding is people aren't reporting these right away because they didn't check the camera when the motion went off, and then also make sure they're charged. We also recommend lighting, like floodlights that are motion censored in your backyard so that at dusk or dark, if there's activity sense, that the light will go off. And we found that to be a deterrent. We also recommend that you get some sort of safe for your valuables.
Yeah.
And don't just leave them in a nightstand or in a drawer because that's the first place that these criminals will check.
Yeah, and she was saying, don't get a safe that people can just carry out because that doesn't necessarily work. And then one of the things we've heard about the sort of burglary tourism that we've been hearing is that a lot of the times they go in through the second window, so homeowners can look for their ladders are being put out, rain gutters they can climb up on, stack patio furniture to get into that master bedroom. That's typically where they're going to start ransacking first because that's where they're going to find typically the valuables that homeowners have left behind.
It's weird when you think about Irvine. I think it was last year, the 18th year in a row, safest city of its size in America. You got to hide your valuables in like the kitchen cabinets.
Right. I think one of the note to self. Right. One of the city people said that you can't. It's not zero crime. It's the safest for violent crime, but not zero crime. Right. So it's still, you have to do what you can.
Be careful. Look out for your neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Cedar the goat was slaughtered. Sorry, I cut much of the chase. I know, but
before you fall in love with this goat, the goat is no more.
But there's a little girl, Jessica, who wants to know what happened to Cedar.
And she's looking at her with a picture of the little goat. Just slaughter that goat. It's like a male goat, isn't it? I can't really tell.
How could you tell just from that picture?
He just looks like male in his face. A little bit.
Very male qualities, their masculinity.
The bone structure.
We'll talk about Cedar the goat and the mystery of Cedar the goat when we come back. Deborah Mark is live in the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
A car has crashed into the side of a medical building in Pomona, hurting 2 people. That car drove off the 10 freeway last night before crashing into the east Artesia Street. A worker trapped under a forklift at the Port of LA has died. Firefighters were called in yesterday morning to birth 270. Presidential primary elections are being held in Arizona, Florida, Illinois, Kansas, and Ohio. President Trump already secured enough delegates last week to have their party's presumptive nominees. Biden will be in Nevada and Arizona today. Trump was in Ohio over the weekend. Southland weather from KFI, sunny, highs mid-60s, mid-70s. This report brought to you by Lowe's. We're going to the 10 in El Monte.
Westbound before Peck Road, you're going to crash. Still blocking the 2 left lanes. Traffic is jammed from Valley Boulevard. A crash in Encino on the 101 1 southbound at Balboa, that blocks the 2 right lanes. You're slow from Winnetka. Paramount, 710 southbound at Rosecrans. Car Fire has the off-ramp shut down. You're stopping over Imperial Highway. And a slow go through Carmel. At 9 southbound, you're on the bridge between the 15 and Green River Road. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Dave Joseph.
This report is sponsored by Robert Half. Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-506-9295. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-506-9295. That's 800-506-9295. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Dental implants. That's what you need when your teeth sadly fail you, when they fall out, hurt, when your teeth embarrass you, hinder your ability to eat, talk, socialize, kiss, get a promotion, or make you feel sick. Thousands of people like you are choosing dental implants from dentalimplantsgps.com. Dental Implants GPS full mouth dental implants, trusted by over 350 local dentists who refer their patients to the elite specialist team at dentalimplantsgps.com. Call 800-849-6700 when researching the right provider. Doctors' expertise is critical. Price, time of treatment, location are secondary to trusting the right team to provide a lifelong smile. Getting you off the expensive hamster wheel of dental fixes. GPS offers the highest level of specialists, several locations, and competitive pricing. Right now, radio listeners take advantage of special pricing from dentalimplantsgps.com. Call 800-849-6700. That's 800-849-6700.
Powered through your spring at Lowe's with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Buy one select string trimmer, leaf blower, or mower kit. Get one select 56V battery free. Valid through 4/3. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Hey, Steve Sharp, thinking about selling your home? You know, if it's not in tip-top shape, you could lose 20 to 50% of its value. So before you sell, please call my friends at Revive Real Estate. See if you qualify for the most innovative selling solution that I have ever seen. Revive will buy your home just like any other buyer. Then they will use their expertise to renovate it and sell it for top dollar. Here comes the game changer. That is when Revive pays you again for the additional profit. You heard that right. You get a second check. Revive Real Estate has programs like this for every homeowner, and right now the average client makes an additional $188,000 that they would have otherwise left on the table. It's what Revive does, help you maximize your home's value. To find out if your home qualifies, go to kfirevive.com or dial pound 250 and say Revive. That's kfirevive.com or dial pound 250 and say Revive.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance. Palbociclib. Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 radio stations like 24/7 comedy.
They were really throwing holes. Back when we had Dick.
When you need to laugh, just open the free iHeartRadio app and search comedy.
Should we call someone? I know that's his face.
iHeartRadio. Free never sounded so good.
It's been 3 months since I've had a drink. I don't feel better. I'm not easier to live with, and I miss it every single second of every day.
There's so much that we share in common, right? And one of the things we share in common is that we enjoy cocktail. I was starting to feel like I'm making a mistake.
No, you're not. I am. I am.
The Tim Connolly Jr. Show.
You're living life the right way.
Live 4 to 7 p.m. on KFI.
And on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app.
Carrie Chen is AMI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. On Capitol Hill today, two of the nation's top former military officials testifying about the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in August of 21. Former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair, retired General Mark Milley, former CENTCOM and Department of Defense Commander, retired General Kenneth McKenzie, going before the House Foreign Affairs Committee today. Last year, Milley had called the withdrawal a strategic failure and said he had a lot of regrets about how the U.S. operations in that country ended almost 3 years ago now. So we'll talk more about that.
We're going to need some music for the mystery
This kind of
what happened to Cedar the goat.
Cedar was a fun little guy, raised by Jessica Long.
A white and brown goat.
Jessica Long's daughter, that is.
Looks like the flank is white, maybe some brown on both sides of Cedar the goat's face.
Now, Cedar the goat had been raised by this little girl to enter into the 4-H program at the Shasta District Fair.
Yeah, it teaches children about the process of raising and caring for livestock to provide food, as ranchers and farmers do. You learn things like you could milk a male goat, I would assume, at the 4-H program.
Do you know what the H's are?
Horses.
No.
Home.
Yes. Health.
Happiness.
Hands, head, health.
Knees and toes.
Head, heart, hands, health.
This is like the song from Dirty Dancing.
This is exactly like the song from Dirty Dancing. What song?
The talent contest. I'll pull it up. Don't let that distract you. It's the one the sister sings, I think. I don't know. They all sing it together at the end. Hey, Kellerman's and that one. Wow, thanks for making me sound even dumber.
Kellerman.
That's how it goes. All right. So anyway, before the animal was to be slaughtered, the little girl who raised Cedar the goat begged, "Can I please keep my goat? It has become a beloved pet."
Okay, now, again, the point of 4-H, at least the way I remember it when I was in high school, was it was about raising and caring for livestock
And watching it get slaughtered.
because they're food.
Yeah.
And you and I came from a pretty, I think my area was much more dairy and cattle heavy.
Yeah.
We were the ones who provided you.
We had paved roads.
Beef bourguignon.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Beef roads, please. So, Jessica, mom, took Cedar from the barn at the fair and said, "Listen, I'm so sorry, but my daughter loves this.
I'll pay you for the goat.
Yes.
Any expenses." And Shasta District Fair officials refused. They threatened that this woman could be charged with grand theft.
Why?
Because the animal had been sold at auction. Officials then reached out to the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. They get a search warrant. They sent deputies across Northern California to find and seize the goat.
Before the county barbecue.
The story of Cedar the goat sparked a California bill that would allow kids to enter animals in county fairs without the risk of the animals being butchered. It has sparked a huge debate about your beloved 4-H program, whether a child should be allowed to back out of it about the officials' decision to use law enforcement to seize the goat. But missing in all of this is what happened to Cedar? Who killed Cedar? Who ended up with Cedar's meat? Who gave the green light to kill the goat that had turned into the beloved pet of Jessica's?
You've got three main players outside of Jessica, her daughter, and Cedar. You've got B.J. McFarland, the livestock manager for the Shasta Fair Association.
Yeah, my money's on B.J.
The Shasta Fair Chief Executive, Melanie Silva, and Kathy Muse, a 4-H volunteer and organizer for the county.
No, an organizer for the county barbecue.
County barbecue, sorry.
She's the one who needs to come up with the meat.
So, fair officials have said they don't know what happened. They don't know who took Cedar. They don't know who authorized it to be butchered. Those three officials at the center have been pointing the fingers at each other. So, just to give you an idea of how circular this argument has been, one deposition, the attorneys asked the livestock manager whether or not the goat was given to another bidder in the livestock auction. And he said, yeah, maybe that. I believe that's what happened. And he said, well, who would know that for sure? And he says, well, I'm pretty sure the chief executive of the fair, Melanie Silva, would know that. So they asked her, where did it physically go? She said, I don't know. Well, who would? And she said, Kathy, again, she's a volunteer, the 4-H volunteer, organizer for the barbecue. And when Kathy was asked, she said, I don't know what happened. I was told he went back to somebody that had a problem with another goat that had been butchered, so we replaced Cedar with that goat. And then said, well, the chief executive of the fair, circular. Nobody knows. Everyone's pointing fingers.
It'll be able to reach a point where instead of deciding things based on social norms or whatever the culture is accepted for, and that we can look at things more objectively and rationally. Well, eventually, we still call it artificial general intelligence, even if we can do that. And people certainly do are influenced by whatever their people that they respect
the real estate firm says, well, we
feel is correct, and will be as influenced by as people are. We'll still call it artificial general intelligence. We are starting to check what large language models come up with search engines, and that's actually making them more correct. But we have to actually continue on this curve. We need more data to be able to store. Large language models, which we don't have storage for the data.
So that's what's holding back data and storage?
Yeah. So that's really where the effort is going, to be able to get rid of these hallucinations.
That's a fun thing to say, hallucinations in terms of artificial intelligence.
Well, we usually come up with wrong things, like large language models is not really the correct way to talk about this. It doesn't know language, but there's a lot of other things it knows. We're using them now to come up with
You must be kidding!
Medicines. For example, the Moderna vaccine, we wrote down every possible type of medicine that might be that might work. There's actually several billion mRNA sequences, and we then tested them all and did that in two days. So it actually came up with tested several billion and decided on it in 2 days. We then tested it with people. We'll be able to overcome that as well because we'll be able to test it with machines. But we actually did test it with people for 10 months. There's still a record. So for machines, when they start testing medications with machines, how will they audit that? So the concept would be that you take into account biological variability, all the different factors that would lead to a person to have an adverse reaction to a certain compound, and then you program all the known data about how things interact with the body.
Right. I mean, you need to be able to simulate all the different possibilities.
Right. And then come up with like a number of how many people would be adversely affected by something.
That's one of the things that we look at.
And then efficacy based on age.
But that should be done literally in every days. Really.
But the question would be like, who's in charge of that data, and like, how does that get resolved? And what if artificial intelligence is still prone to hallucinations, and they start using those hallucinations to justify medications? That could be a bit of an issue, especially if it's controlled by a corporation that wants to make a lot of money.
Well, that's the issue. To be able to do it correctly.
So we'll have to come. There's going to have to be a point in time where we'll decide that artificial intelligence has reached this place where we can trust it implicitly.
Well, that's why they take now the leading candidates and not tested with people. But we'll be able to get rid of the testing with people once we can have reliance on the simulation. So we've got to make the simulations correct. But like right now, we actually tested with people, and that takes, well, it took 10 months in this case.
When you look at artificial intelligence and you look at the expansion of it and the ultimate place that it will eventually be, what do you see happening inside of our lifetime, like inside of 20 years? Like what kind of revolutionary changes on society would this have?
Well, one thing I feel will happen in 5 years, by 2029, is we'll reach longevity escape velocity. So right now you go through a year, and you use up a year of your longevity. You're then a year older. However, we do have scientific progress, and we're coming up with new cures for diseases and so on. Right now you're getting back about 4 months. So you lose a year, but through scientific progress, you're getting back 4 months. So you're only losing 8 months. However, the scientific progress is progressing exponentially. And by 2029, you'll get back a full year. So you lose a year, but you get back a year, and you pretty much stay in the same place.
So by 2029, you'll be set.
And past 2029, you'll actually get back more than a year. You'll get back. No, but you'll, in terms of your longevity, you'll get back more than a year.
Right. So you'll be able to essentially go back in biological age, lengthening of the telomeres, changing the elasticity of the skin.
Eventually, you'll be able to do that. It doesn't guarantee you living forever. I mean, you could have a 10-year-old and you can compute that he's got many decades of longevity, and he could die tomorrow.
But overall, there'd be an expansion of the
exactly. And that's something that we're going to get. And we're also using the same type of logic as large language models. And just like language, you're actually creating medications. So we should call them large event models, not large language models, because it's not just dealing with language, it's dealing with all kinds of things.
When I talked to you 10 years ago, you were telling me about this pretty extensive supplement routine.
So I'm trying to get to the point where we have longevity escape velocity in good shape.
Right.
And yes, I do follow that. I take maybe 80 pills a day and some injections and so on. Yes, peptides. So far it works.
Have you ever gone off of it? See what you feel like normal?
No.
Why do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it seems to work, and there's evidence behind it.
How old are you now? 76.
You look good. You look good for 76, man. That's great. So it's doing something.
Yeah, I think it's working.
And so your goal is to get to that point where they start doing the you living here, you stay static, and then eventually get back to you.
Right, and it's not that far off. If you're diligent, I think we'll get there by 2029. But not everybody's diligent. So.
Correct. Of course. Now, past that, this is for life extension, which is great. But what about how AI is going to change society?
Yes, well, that's a very big issue, and it's already doing lots of things, make some people uncomfortable. What we're actually doing is increasing our intelligence. I mean, right now you have a brain, it has different modules in it that deal with different things, but really it's able to connect one concept to another concept, and that's what your brain does. You can actually increase that by, for example, carrying around a phone. This has connections in it. It's a little bit of a hassle to use. If I ask you to do something, you gotta kind of mess with it. Actually, it'd be good if this actually listened to your conversation.
Oh, it does.
And without saying anything, you're just talking, and it says, "Oh, the name of that actress is so and so."
Yeah, but then it's a busybody. It's like interfering with your life, talking to you all the time.
Well, there's ways of dealing with that too.
You shut it off.
But we don't. So we haven't done that yet. But that's a way of expanding your connections. What a large language model does, it has connections in it as well. And in fact, it's getting now to a point that's getting fairly comparable to the human brain. We have about 1 trillion connections in our brain. Things like the top model from Google or GPT-4, they have about 400 billion connections approximately. There'll be 1 trillion probably within a year. That's pretty comparable to what the human brain does. Eventually we'll go beyond that, and we'll have access to that. So it's basically making us smarter. So if you have the ability to be smarter, that's something that's positive, really. I mean, if we were like mice today, and we had the opportunity to become like humans, we wouldn't object to that. In fact, we are humans and we don't object to that. And this is going to basically make us smarter. Eventually we'll be much smarter than we are today. And that's a positive thing. We'll be able to do things that are today that we find bothersome in a way that's much more palatable.
The idea of us getting smarter sounds great. Great. It's great to be smarter. But
right, but people object to that because it's like competition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Google has, 70,000 programmers, and how many programmers exist in the world? How much longer is that going to be a viable career? Because most language models already can code.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as a real expert coder, but how long is that going to be? It's not going to be 100 years. It's going to be a few years. So people see it as competition. I have a slightly different view of that. I see these things as actually adding to our own intelligence, and we're merging with these kinds of computers, making ourselves smarter by merging with it. And eventually it'll go inside our brain and be able to make us smarter instantly, just like we have more connections inside our own brain.
Well, I think people have reservations always when it comes to great change. And this is probably the greatest change. The greatest change we've ever experienced in our lifetimes for sure has been the internet. And this will make that look like nothing. It'll change everything. And it seems inevitable. I understand that people are upset about it, but it just seems like what human beings were sort of designed to do.
Right, we're the only animal that actually creates technology. Yeah, it's a combination of our brain and something else, which is our thumb. So I can imagine something. Oh, if I take that leaf from a tree, I could create a tool with it. Other animals have actually a bigger brain, like a whale, dolphins, elephants. They have a larger brain than we do, but they don't have something equivalent to the thumb. Monkey has a thing that looks like the thumb, but it's actually an inch down, and it doesn't actually work very well. So they can actually create a tool, but they don't create a tool that's powerful enough to create the next tool. So we're actually able to use our tools and create something that's that much more significant. So we can create tools, and that's really part of who we are. It makes us that much more intelligent, and that's a good thing. Yes.
Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair, retired General Mark Milley, and former CENTCOM Commander, retired General Kenneth McKenzie, have been testifying.
So here's U.S. personal income per capita. So this is the average amount that we make per person in constant dollars. And it is
it would make a lot more money, but things cost a lot more money too, right?
No, this is constant dollars.
Constant dollars in relation to the inflation.
Yeah, so this is not to show you inflation. These are constant dollars. So we're actually making that much more each year on average.
Okay, right, but it doesn't take into account inflation, correct? So it's not taking into account the rise in costs.
No, it is taking. Oh, it is. Okay. So we're making that much more in constant dollars. If you look over the past 100 years, we've made about 10 times as much.
I wonder if there's a similar chart about consumerism, or just about material possessions. I wonder if, like, how much more we're purchasing and creating. I've always felt like that's one of the things that materialism is one of those instincts that human beings sort of look down upon, and this aimless pursuit of buying things. But I feel like that motivates technology, because the constant need for the newest, greatest thing is one of the things that fuels the creation and innovation of new things.
But if you were to go back 100 years, you'd be very unhappy.
Oh yeah,
because you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have had computers.
You wouldn't have any. You'd have most things you've grown accustomed to.
Yeah.
August 26th is when.
Unless that's what you want. Also, we didn't live very long.
Right, it was medical.
Average life was 48 years in 1900. It's 35 years in 1800.
Right.
Go back 1,000 years, it was 20 years.
That takes into account child mortality too, though, right? But it's also injuries. Yeah. Some people did live long. Like, there was people that lived back then. If nothing happened, you did live to be with a normal person.
That was actually very rare.
Because most of it happened to people. Most people, by the time you get to 80, you've had at least one hospital visit. Something's gone wrong. Broken arm, broken this, broken that.
It was very rare to make it to 80.
Right.
200 years ago.
Right, but the human body was physically capable of doing it. Right.
Well, our human body can go on forever if you fix things properly. There's nothing in our body that means that you have to die at 100 or even 120. We can go on really indefinitely.
Well, that's the groundbreaking work today, right? They're treating disease, or excuse me, age as if it is a disease, not just an inevitable consequence.
And our FDA doesn't accept that, but they're actually beginning to accept it.
Wow. as they get older.
They advanced to today's special election.
They're forced into it.
As the top finishers,
The concept of artificial general intelligence scares a lot of people also because of Hollywood, right? The Terminator films and things along those lines. How far away are we, do you think, from actual artificial humans, or will we ever get there? Will we integrate before that takes place?
I mean, all of the traditional intelligence that we're creating is something that we use. And it's just like it came with us. So we're actually making ourselves more intelligent. And ultimately that's a good thing. And if we have it, and then we say, well, gee, we don't really like this, let's take it away, people would never accept that. They may be against the idea of general intelligence, but once they get it, nobody wants to give that up. And it will be beneficial. The Lullites started 200 years ago because the cotton gin came out, and all these people that were making money with the cotton gin were against it, and they would actually destroy these machines at night. And they said, gee, if this keeps going, all jobs are going to go away. And indeed, people using cotton ginny to create more wealth, that did go away. But we actually made more money because we created things that didn't exist then. We didn't have anything like electronics, for example. And as we can actually see, we make 10 times as much in constant dollars as we did 100 years ago. And if you were to ask, well, what are people going to be doing? We couldn't answer it because we didn't understand the internet.
And there's bandwidth and technologies down the pipe that are going to have a similar impact.
Exactly. And they're going to extend it. They're going to extend life.
But are they going to create life?
Well, we know how to create life. But we don't. Well, that's an interesting question. What do you mean by create life?
What I think is that human beings are some sort of a biological caterpillar that makes a cocoon that gives birth to an electronic butterfly. I think we are creating a life form, and that we're merely conduits for this thing, and that all of our instincts and ego and emotions and all these things feed into it, materialism feeds into it. We keep buying, keep innovating, and technology keeps increasing exponentially, and eventually it's going to be artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is going to create better artificial intelligence and a form of being that has no limitations in terms of what's capable of doing, and capable of traveling anywhere and not having any biological limitations in terms of.
But that's going to be ourselves. I mean, we're going to be able to create life that is like humans, but far greater than we are today.
With an integration of technology,
yeah.
If we choose to go that route. But that's the prediction that you have, that we will go that route, like a Neuralink type deal, something along those lines.
Right, so I don't see this competition, like the things are going to.
No, I don't think it's competition.
Well, it will seem like that. I mean, if you have a job doing coding,
right,
and suddenly they don't really want you anymore because they can do coding with a large language model, it's going to feel like it's competition.
Well, there's an issue now with films. Tyler Perry, who owns it, he was building an $800 million television studio, and he stopped production. So what's it called, Sora? Is that what it's called, Jamie? He stopped production when he saw the capabilities of AI just for creating visuals, scenes, movies. There's one that's incredibly impressive. It's Tokyo. They're walking down the street of Tokyo in the winter. So it's snowing, and they're walking down the street, and you look at it, you're like, this is insane. This looks like film. See if you can find that film. Because it's incredible.
Would you want to get rid of that?
Get rid of what?
The capability.
No, I don't want to get rid of the capability.
Right, but people do.
Well, people that make movies. people that actually film things with cameras and use actors are going to be very upset. So this is all fake, which is insane. Beautiful snowy Tokyo City is bustling. The camera moves through the bustling city street, following several people enjoying the beautiful snowy weather and shopping at nearby stalls. Gorgeous sakura petals are flying through the wind along with snowflakes. And this is what you get. I mean, this is insanely good. The variability, like just the way people are dressed. If you saw this somewhere else, look at this, A Robot's Life in a cyberpunk setting. If you saw this, you would say, oh, they filmed this. But just look at what they're able to do with animation and kids with
Yeah, it's gonna get better.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
I mean, it's a new art form.
So right there, the smoke looks a little uniform. But yeah,
I mean, there's some problems with this, but
not much. And you imagine what it was like 5 years ago, and then imagine what it's going to be like 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
And it's insane. No one took into consideration the idea that kids are going to be cheating on their school papers using ChatGPT, but my kids tell me that's a real problem in school now.
Yes, definitely.
So no one saw that coming. No one saw this coming. And what we're at now is with ChatGPT 4, right? 4.5. So
well, 4.5 is coming.
4.5 is coming. 5 is supposed to be the massive.
It'll be a leap, just like 3 to 4 was a massive leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it's gonna continue. It's never gonna be finished.
Right, it'll keep going, and it will also be able to make better versions of itself, right?
And yes, well, we do that. I mean, technology does that already.
Right, but if you scale that out 100 years from now, what are you looking at? You're looking at a god.
Well, it'll be less than 100 years. I mean,
so you're looking at a god in 50 years?
Less than that. I mean, once we have an ability to emulate everything that humans can do, and not just one human, but all humans.
Yes.
And that's only like 2029. That's only 5 years from now.
And then it will make better versions of that. So it will probably solve a lot of the problems that we have in terms of energy storage, data speeds,
right,
computation speeds,
and also medications
for us.
For humans, yeah.
Wouldn't it be better just to just download yourself into this beautiful electronic body? Why do you want to be biological?
I mean, ultimately, that's what we're going to be able to do.
You think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
So do you think that we'll be able to?
I mean, we'll be able to create. I mean, the singularity is when we multiply our intelligence a millionfold, and that's 2045. So that's not that long from now. That's like 20 years from now.
Right.
And therefore, most of your intelligence will be handled by the computer part of ourselves. The only thing that won't be captured is what comes with our body originally. We'll ultimately be able to do that as well. It'll take a little longer, but we'll be able to actually capture what comes with our normal body and be able to recreate that. So that also has to do with how long we live, because if everything is backed up, I mean, right now, anytime you put anything into a phone or any kind of electronics, it's backed up. So, I mean, this has a lot of data. I could flip it and it ends up in the body as well.
What's the stuff?